Alright, well, this certainly was not a video I ever planned or ever wanted to make on my channel especially, but it's not a video that I enjoy watching from anybody else as well. As you just saw, I unfortunately had an incident on track, one of the local track days at my local racetrack, one that I frequent the most, the one that I have the most experience on, and I made a wrong move. End of the day, it's my mistake, what I did, how I took the corner I take, a couple hundred times now. I would venture I'm close to 300 laps, but that's where guys start making mistakes. You start trying to push it, and I took a line I don't normally take, and unfortunately it didn't end well for me. So a couple key things that I took away from it especially, but it was difficult for me to figure out a way how I wanted to share that on the channel. First and foremost, I'm okay. I walked away from it without any major injuries. I was able to get out of the car on my own will. I was able to walk around. I called my wife right away, let her know what happened. And I went to the hospital and I got checked out. First and foremost, let's all say that that's definitely the right way to do it. Local guys could tell that I was okay. When we were there, they just wanted me to go to the hospital, get a doctor to give me a once over. So I was fine. That all said, that's the good. There's a few things I'm going to show everyone on the car, and the one thing that I hope that I can share with all you guys in full disclosure and honesty is safety gear is so important. I'm happy that I took the forethought to think about it ahead of time and said to myself, no matter what, I'm a pretty skilled driver. I've been driving for, 30 years, 20 years, sorry, my apologies. 20 years I've been driving. I've got no accidents, under my name. I don't have any speeding tickets in the last 10 years. I take my driving very seriously, as I'm sure a lot of you do as well. You're probably shaking your heads as you're listening to me say this. But we can all make mistakes, and especially if you're on a track that doesn't have any runoffs, it doesn't have very much room for error, it doesn't take much for things to go pretty south pretty quick. That said, if you're going to get into this sport, I beg and a plead of all of you to take your safety seriously. I don't want this to be a public safety announcement, but end of the day, I had a cage, I had a 4-point harness, and I had a Hans device. That last one is so important, guys. That's what saved me. That's what saved my neck. That's what prevented me from having any major injuries. I had a sore neck for about 4 days. I took a day off work just to be safe, and I could have gone to work the next day. I just took it off because I didn't know how I was going to feel. So I returned to work the following day. I mean, at the end of the day, I love cars, and cars has been my passion since I was a kid, but you got to remember, it's just a collection of metal and plastic and rubber. We, the drivers, the guys who are watching this channel right now, all my subscribers, we're the thing that's important. At the end of the day, it's just a car. We can rebuild, we can create another car, we can do whatever we want to do as long as we physically are here and have the abilities to do so. So one, you're alive. Two, you're not going to have any life-changing injuries because of having an accident on track. So that's my 2 cents, guys. I certainly hope it helps. I know that I can talk about on the day of. A lot of my close friends who I go to these track days with for years now, 3 years, we've been all tracking together. A lot of them kind of drag their feet on the Hans device and the roll cage in their car. 2 of them made a point to come up to me and show me that they just ordered them while we were there on track that day, while we were waiting to get my car collected and put on a trailer. So I'm going to show you it. We're going to walk around it. I haven't really looked at it much in the last couple of weeks. I've kind of just covered it and said, let me just kind of come to terms, and then we already kind of formulated a plan. So I was never really bummed out about it. I was honestly not really that sad. I was more like, hey, I'm alive, I'm okay. And that's all that really matters to me. So we're gonna rebuild. So let's take a look at it, and I'll go over the plan and let you guys know what we're gonna do. All right, here we go. Looks worse than it. No, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. All right, let's go take a look at it. All right, so as you could probably see from how I cut the video, it was a side impact. So the car went completely sideways into two barriers. Here's where the division in the barrier was, hence where that's been damaged. And yeah, the door's done. Interestingly enough, the body did not touch the cage. So I talked to Watson Racing. There's two different ways this is going to go. When we unbolt the cage, it's going to spring out, and then it should be pretty much done. If it doesn't spring out and it stays in shape, Frank wanted me to double check all the welds, make sure everything looks okay. He's going to send me some measurements, and then we'll make a decision from there. I'm on the fence. If it's okay, if everyone says it's really okay, I'll put it in the next car. If I don't feel right about it, I'll just get another one. It's end of the day, it's a cage, and as you can tell by the extent, we've got bigger issues than just the cage. But wheel was completely destroyed. The brake caliper on the bottom there, it broke off from the spindle. Now, one thing I will say, and I speak very highly of, there's our Cortex coilover. Now, I can tell, I kind of got in there a little bit. The actual tube here that the guys at Cortex and Philip make, it's damaged. One of the bolts that holds it to the spindle has turned and rotated. But the tube itself, I gotta get this thing apart, but the tube itself looks like it's okay, which means the JRI shock, the cartridge inside is okay, the shaft, and the coilover itself, the spring, everything else looks totally fine. It's just that bottom piece that's bent. So in my opinion, that speaks volumes to the quality of what the guys over at Cortex do. The fact that they build these bodies out of steel instead of doing aluminum, because they know it's a motorsport coilover and they know it's going to eventually get into an off-track incident, I think that thing's saved. So I'm pretty happy about that. I get to get that rebuilt, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be back on the car right away. Here's another great thing I'm going to take advantage of. Apex Wheels, whenever you damage a wheel, will give you a replacement wheel at half price. That speaks volumes of what they do for their customers and customer service, and the fact that they know this is a track-focused wheel, and they know that people who are going to use this are maybe eventually, maybe not to this extreme, but they're going to need a replacement wheel. And so the fact that they help you out like that is huge. I'm definitely going to be continuing to use Apex Wheels because of that, because if they support me like that, I'm going to continue to support them. So a few other things I want to show you guys before we finish. Inside, you know, full airbag deployment, but that right there, this harness started to tear, which means it started to see some pretty high G levels in order for this thing to start to rip. Now, it only ripped the first stage, not this stitched black stage. I've been told this one might be in excess of 5 Gs to tear that. I'm not 100%, but I don't know what it was when I hit that, but I hit it pretty hard. So again, wearing that Hans device, having this clamped down and holding me is why I'm able to make this video for you guys today, in all honesty. This side's pretty good. You know, the axle's all out. As you can tell, the back bumper tore off. The mufflers are damaged. I don't know if I'll try and round it out or if it's worth saving. I'll take them off and look. The whole body's pretty much done. I mean, passenger side airbags didn't go off. The dash is kinked a bit, so maybe when we get this door off, we can take a look. I had a fire extinguisher. Another key thing to have just in case. The car shut down when I hit the wall, I think it's a part of the forward safety system. When the airbags are deployed, it shuts the motor off and it makes the horn just honk, and it kills the whole car. So that's a good feature. Now I'm gonna try and get the hood up and show you underneath, because this is why I'm not crying too bad. The motor's perfectly fine, thank God. The strut tower brace bars, you can see, kinked and bent right up, and the frame rails kinked, but they never touched the motor. Nothing in the front touched the engine. You know, I just lost the radiator and the coolant tanks and all that fun stuff. It looks like my Ford Racing Boss 302S ABS module is okay. Those are discontinued and hard to find and replace, so that's fine. The intake was totally fine. I just popped it off the car, except for the box. The box had a crack because there's your intake tube, and it just cracked and broke. So that's okay. It is what it is. Oil cooler. It looks okay. I mean, it's bent, but this is just some sheet metal. Maybe I can rebend that. Just this tab. It didn't leak anywhere, so fingers crossed. That means it's okay. I can just reuse it. Same with the Boss 302 Laguna Seca kind of splitter. It's a bit kinked up, but I might be able to kind of reuse it, just straighten it back out. So that's really it. Unfortunately, guys, I wish I was making a better video for you. All right, so that's ripping the Band-Aid off. That's the condition of the car. So the question you're asking, and I've been asking myself for the last couple of weeks, is what am I gonna do? Well, I definitely want to be back on track. We've been looking at a couple different options of the car. At the end of the day, unfortunately, I feel like the body of the car is just too far gone. There's too much that's damaged on it to be repaired economically to make sense. So over the next weeks, months, hopefully before next summer, I'm going to be updating videos on you guys on what the progress is. What we're going to do is we're going to rip the entire car apart, rip the motor out, which looks fine, transmission, drivetrain, all of my suspension, really kind of assess everything, replace what's broken, and get the complete kit again. Then we're gonna go find a new car, and we're gonna transfer everything over to the new car, the new motor, or my motor into it, everything, and then we'll be back at the races. So it's kind of gonna be like a phoenix being reborn from the ashes, so to speak, but we are going to film it, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Hopefully we'll all learn something together from it, and we can turn a negative into a positive and have some more content. So that's it for today, guys. I will be seeing you shortly. We'll start to kind of formulate a plan. I've been waiting for some stuff to arrive so that I can start to take it apart. And then once I've got it all apart, then we can kind of start to go over the assessment, and I'll show you guys more of the damage as we find it. So for now, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.